The listen and repeat task on TOEFL Speaking gives you 7 sentences. The first 2 are short in length, and you can usually remember them word for word. But the last 2, they're longer, and they're built differently, and they're where most students lose the most points. In this video, I'll show you the 4 sentence shapes that show up most often in those last 2 questions, and how to handle each one. First, a quick refresher on the task. You'll hear 7 sentences, one at a time, with a short pause after each. You repeat what you heard as exactly as you can. The content of each sentence is generally commands or instructions, and the complexity of the grammar generally increases as you progress in the set. In Magoosh TOEFL, our lessons cover the strategies for the entire set. This video zooms in on the last 2 questions, where the points are easiest to lose. So what makes the last 2 sentences harder? Yes, they are longer, but the grammar is also more advanced. Those longer sentences pack in extra structure. Things like politer command phrasings, 2 actions joined together, descriptive add-ons, and if-then setups. Once you can anticipate those shapes coming, the sentence stops feeling like a wall of words. You stop trying to memorize 15 words in a row, and you start hearing 2 or 3 chunks of meaning instead. That's the difference between making a guess and forming a confident repetition for your response. Let's talk about chunks for a moment. A chunk is just a small piece of meaning, usually a few words that belong together and that serve a certain purpose, such as describing a place, a time, an action, or a purpose. For example, in the side section describes a place. Before eating describes a time. Long sentences are much easier to hold in your head when you listen for 2 or 3 chunks of meaning instead of 15 or more separate words. We'll use this idea for each of the 4 shapes coming up. Here are the 4 shapes you'll see most often in the last 2 questions. Shape 1, polite instructions, which use words like remember to, be sure to, you can, or you may. Shape 2, long sentences that join 2, or even 3, actions with the word and. Shape 3, sentences that add extra info to a noun using that or who. And shape 4, if-then sentences, which pair a condition with an instruction. Now, you aren't guaranteed to encounter these 4 shapes on the test every single time, but they show up often enough that recognizing them will save you a lot of effort. You'll now get a chance to practice each one. Though Magoosh TOEFL includes official practice questions from ETS, the makers of the exam, for the upcoming practice sets, I'll be using expert-crafted sentences. Our first set takes place at an indoor climbing gym, where a manager is teaching new climbers how to use the top rope wall safely. Instead of working through the whole set, we're just going to focus on the final 2 questions, one at a time. So you'll listen once, then repeat, and then we'll talk about it.
Please remind every climber to keep both hands on the rope while descending.
That one was, please remind every climber to keep both hands on the rope while descending. Notice how it opens with, please remind. That's shape 1, a polite instruction. The speaker is softening the command, but it's still an instruction. When you hear that polite opening, the rest of the sentence is going to describe an action. Try chunking it like this. Please remind every climber is chunk 1, who you're reminding. To keep both hands on the rope is chunk 2, the action itself. While descending is chunk 3, the time that it applies. 3 chunks instead of 13 separate words.
Encourage climbers to take breaks between routes and drink water during long sessions.
This time the sentence was, encourage climbers to take breaks between routes and drink water during long sessions. This one is shape 2, two actions joined with the word and. Action 1, take breaks between routes. Action 2, drink water during long sessions. So when you hear an and in the middle of a long sentence, treat it as a signal that another of the same type of chunk will appear next. Our second practice set is at a plant nursery, where a manager is teaching new staff how to help customers find and care for the plants. Again, we're just going to focus on the two hardest questions in this set, the last two.
Recommend the plants that thrive in low light for customers with shady backyards.
How did you do on that one? It was, recommend the plants that thrive in low light for customers with shady backyards. This is shape 3, a noun with extra info added to describe it using that. The instruction itself is simple. Recommend the plants. But which plants? The word that answers that question, that thrive in low light. So the noun and its add-on belong together as a single chunk in your mind, the plants that thrive in low light. Then the rest of the sentence describes who specifically should receive the recommendation, for customers with shady backyards.
If a customer asks about delivery, send them to the front counter.
This time we heard, if a customer asks about delivery, send them to the front counter. This is shape 4, an if sentence. It has two clear halves. The first half, starting with if, is the condition, if a customer asks about delivery. The second half is the instruction, send them to the front counter. So this is really like hearing two different chunks of action. If one action happens, here's the second action. To summarize, the last two listen and repeat sentences in a set are the longest, the most challenging, and they tend to implement a few different grammar shapes, such as polite instructions and multiple actions joined with and. You'll also encounter nouns with extra description after that, or who, and you may even hear a conditional if-then setup. Ultimately, your job on listen and repeat is still to mimic what you hear. However, by being prepared to anticipate these common shapes, you're no longer trying to remember a string of 15 or more words. Instead, you're focused on listening for 2 or 3 more digestible chunks of meaning, and that is easier to remember, and thus to reproduce. Magoosh TOEFL not only has official ETS questions, but also official ETS scoring, so you'll know exactly where your speaking ability stands. Plus, you'll receive detailed feedback on how to raise your speaking score to the next level. So, for even more practice and for lessons covering all the speaking question types, check out Magoosh TOEFL. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching and happy studying.